Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. We're going to jump right into things today because this Wednesday feel, I don't like this feel. This hump day feel, I don't like. Leading into what isn't, unfortunately, an Eagles weekend because they don't play until Monday night. In a way, I'm happy about that because I think this Eagles team needs as much rest as possible. We talked about yesterday how Nick Sirianni gave him the day off Monday, so he hadn't seen anybody in the NovaCare complex to really give true and efficient updates on player injuries. So we'll see how all that went yesterday. When you hear from Brian Johnson later today, you'll hear from Matt Patricia today. And then tomorrow, hear from Nick Sirianni and then Jalen Hurts. But one thing that's really been on my mind over the last couple of days here, and as much as I felt a little bit better about the Eagles after speaking to Hollis Thomas yesterday, who joined the show and said that they haven't quit on Nick Sirianni. He wouldn't fire Nick Sirianni. We'll see if anybody's opinion changes on that with Mike Vrabel being let go by the Tennessee Titans. I didn't jump on that, and I'm not jumping on that saying, it's got to be Mike Vrabel if you fire Nick Sirianni. Certainly worth the conversation. But as far as this team goes right now, we're going to go through all the takes on the Eagles. And man, are there a lot of takes out there. I hesitate to call them takes because I think takes, when they're referred to, mostly are referred to by, media types that are just trying to throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. The hot take, as some people might refer to it. I don't really appreciate the hot take, and to me, a hot take is something that is so outlandish it is only said for attention. There's no validity to it. It's simply to stir the pot. That's why I don't believe in the hot take. So for me, I pull a George Costanza. All right, if you'll indulge me on a Seinfeld reference here. It's not a hot take if you believe it. If it's truly what you believe, then it's not a hot take. I hold back on calling what you're about to hear hot takes or even takes, but they're takes nonetheless because you're still hearing them from people, albeit, and this is why I hold back on the take issue here, Dallas Goedert, Javon Hargrave, Chad Ochocinco, Chad Johnson, all these takes that are out there, and Hollis Thomas himself, these aren't take artists. These are players or former players that are weighing in on an opinion about your Philadelphia Eagles. Some might make you feel really good. Others might make you feel really bad. Most of them have you in the position of, hey, maybe they're not done. So we're going to get into that conversation today. We'll let you hear from Chad Johnson. We'll let you hear from Dallas Goedert. We'll let you hear from, or we'll let you at least read the quote there from Javon Hargrave that we got into a little bit yesterday. Also, we're going to get into this Joel Embiid story because Joel Embiid is ruled out for tonight's game. Under the new guidelines of the MVP award, he's not going to be eligible. He can only miss, I believe it's now, after tonight, 9 more games for the rest of the season. I want to believe in the 76ers, and you guys know my stance on the 76ers this year. It's not great. It's not just even, they're just going to stay around the playoffs. No, I'm not even there. You got to get to a finals. You got to get to an NBA finals. And I don't see that happening this year. Love Tyrese Maxey, love Joel Embiid, love Nick Nurse, like how Tobias Harris has played for most of the season, had a little bit of a lagged off a little bit, then kind of came back. But for me, it's not about the regular season. It's not about regular season awards. It's about what they do in the postseason. And we'll let you hear from Joel Embiid about where he's at right now as far as that MVP award goes and what his mindset is on playing games and all that. But here's how I look at it. I truly don't care. If at the end of the year, Joel Embiid is qualified for the MVP award and doesn't win it, I don't care. If Joel Embiid throughout the season is not qualified at the end of the year, but he's had an MVP season, but is not in the running because he's been disqualified for a number of games missed in the season, I think I'm actually happier because that will mean that the Philadelphia 76ers have managed his workload throughout the season, and I've watched him play at an MVP level, but he is rested and healthy for the postseason, which is all that matters. I don't care about the MVP award this year. That's my stance on it. We'll let you hear from Joel Embiid a little bit later in the show, but I do want to jump into what the Philadelphia Eagles have gotten into throughout this week. I'm going to start it off with just reading the quote that we talked a little bit about yesterday. This is via Niners Nation. He was on Eric Armstrong's podcast, Javon Hargrave, where he talked about the practice method of the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is what Hargrave had to say. I can say as far as practices, it's more demanding here in San Francisco. I think it's more so like how people call the Golden State Warriors culture and the Miami Heat culture. Over here, it's Miami Heat. Over there, it's Golden State. It's more chill, more relaxed. Over here, it's work every day. You're about to get it. I feel like Kyle Shanahan is like Pat Riley. Yeah, you know what you're getting over here. Everybody can't make it over here for sure. All right, Pat Riley. Okay, speaking of hot takes for a second, this is a piping hot take. Because it's not within his own sport, I can call this a piping hot take. Kyle Shanahan is Pat Riley? Really? Really? Is there going to be a three-peat of choking by Kyle Shanahan? If you include last year, okay, everyone got injured, fine, whatever, but still, choke. Is there going to be, let's see, the other one was the 28-3 in the Super Bowl when he was the offensive coordinator there for the Atlanta Falcons there against the Patriots. So that's a choke. Is this going to be a three-peat where now you're the number one seed and you fizzle out in the playoffs? Pat Riley piping hot take from Javon Hargrave there. And how are you complaining if you're Javon Hargrave about a team who had a lax schedule when you talk about the practice schedule here in Philadelphia? This is what I told Hollis yesterday. How are you complaining about it if you went to a Super Bowl with that team? If you actually won the NFC Championship and you beat the team that you're now on? I don't understand how it's complained. Look, the Eagles last year, and I remember, but going into last year with the Detroit Lions being on Hard Knocks and Dan Campbell, who has hinted at illegal subs help get his energy up, he's on Hard Knocks, and everybody sees the behind-the-scenes goings-ons of the Detroit Lions. And he's talking about, we all know about the biting kneecaps. We all know about the 17 shots of espresso and his Dunkin' Donuts coffee every day. Like, we all know about the turbo boost and all that. Then he's yelling at his players on Hard Knocks about, Ben, if I didn't think this was going to get you ready for the start of the season, then you know what? I wouldn't do it, but I promise you have to listen to me. I played in this league. I was a tough player, the tight end, blocking this guy, blocking that guy, blah, blah, blah. Telling players when he took over for the Dolphins, those years ago for, I think it was Joe Philbin. He was the strength and conditioning coach. Then all of a sudden he's the head coach, interim head coach. He's holding up a football at the end of his first win going, I bleed for you guys. I bleed for you guys. Everyone's looking at that. And then they're seeing Camp Cotton Candy with Nick Sirianni. Where he's like, okay, has everyone got their cotton candy? Okay, we're going to eat cotton candy for 90 minutes, and then we're going to go shower. Okay? Let's face it. If you've had cotton candy recently, you need to shower afterwards. But anyway, that's what you're looking at. Camp Lollipop versus Camp Kneecaps, okay? So everyone wants to look at, oh, man, look, the Eagles are not even practicing. They're going to be terrible this year because they don't even practice hard. They go to a Super Bowl. I don't like it. I love when you see people working their ass off, when you see people practicing hard, and then you see them go out there and win, and they get rewarded for it. The Detroit Lions this year, that's a good example of it. Even last year in their turnaround in the second half of the season, that's a good example of it. But the Eagles have this kind of mail-it-in schedule during their practices, during their training camp, and somehow magically, back-to-back years, they at least start at 10-1. Here's my issue, though. When you win, you get to a Super Bowl, you win your conference, you can justify any schedule. This year, unfortunately, the Eagles have come up a lot short at the end of the year with what's supposed to be an even easier schedule in practice. Don't confuse. I'm not talking about the regular season schedule. I'm talking about practice schedules throughout the week, practice schedules throughout training camp, all that, off-season workouts. That's what I'm talking about. At the end of the year, in particular this year, where you had one of the worst collapses in NFL history by a playoff-bound team, this year, the ends do not justify the means. This year, you are not legitimizing this cotton candy schedule. If this is the way you're ending the season, to me, it means that guys have gotten less focused. Guys are tired. Guys are worn out. You haven't gotten them in shape to be better at this point in the season. That is a huge concern to me. But Javon Hargrave calling that out right now, I find a little bit odd, and I take with a grain of salt. I know it was a big talking point for a lot of people. I know we kicked it around yesterday with Hollis. I just go, piping hot take, especially when you start talking about how San Francisco is the Pat Riley Miami Heat, while here in Philadelphia, it's Golden State. Okay, whatever that means. All right, I'll go from that negative to this positive. The next take we're going to examine here is from Chad Ochocinco, who came out on Monday morning. I think he said he was on his way to the airport. And this is what he had to tell the good people about why you shouldn't be worried about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Beautiful Monday afternoon. Getting ready to head to the airport. So it's a little cold in Miami. But I'm excited to go to Philly. I hope it's snowing, too. I know my Eagles fans. I know y'all upset. I think they're going to fix it. I think the Eagles players, I think they playing possum. I know what they're doing. They're allowing their bodies to reset. They're allowing their minds to mentally reset. And watch what happens come playoff time. Watch what happens next week. Watch what I tell you. I tell you no lie. I lie for you before I lie to you. Watch what them boys do. I know it. I'm familiar with their game. I know what they're doing. Eagles fans, I tell you, I know what I'm talking about now. Now watch.
First off, very jealous of that cigar. And smoking a cigar in the car, even though it sounded like maybe a window was open, smoking a cigar in the car, policy move. I've always wanted to do it. I somehow lucked out once and got rented a convertible. And man, I was in that convertible driving. I was from Philly to DC, and I was like, I was like, if I just wish I had a cigar right now, just cruising down the highway. And then I was like, with my luck, I'll get the ashes in my eye somehow, and then it'd be terrible. But anyway, back to the take there. They're playing possum. This is where Chad Ochocinco was at on Monday, is where I hope I'm at come Monday morning. All right, so this Monday morning, ahead of the Eagles taking on the Buccaneers in the first round of the playoffs, I hope I'm at that mindset. I hope I have talked myself into, the Eagles just haven't cared. The Eagles, they just don't give a damn. This isn't, they need to take a step back, and they just see that we clinched the playoffs. We're good to go. We'll just play possum. We'll be that serpent, that lies at the bottom of the sea and allows its enemies to nibble, and then it strikes. I'm going to go ahead and talk to the Monday version of me and say this. So bear with me here for a second. Hey, Mark. Hey, Monday morning, Mark. You're an idiot. By now, you've probably talked yourself into the Eagles playing possum at the end of the season. Don't talk yourself into that, you moron. Have a great day. Go Birds anyway. Love you. That's my message to myself on Monday morning. Not to buy into stuff like this from Chad Ochocinco about how the Eagles have been playing possum throughout this season, or throughout the final 6 weeks of this season. They look like they wanted to win that game, the first game against the Giants. They barely held on. All right. They look like they wanted to win against Seattle. I don't think Jalen Hurts threw that ball up at the end of the game that ended up being intercepted, or the ball I referenced so many times with 8:15 left in that fourth quarter, the ball that was intended for Quez Watkins that ended up getting picked off. I don't think Jalen Hurts' idea there was, to hell with it. Boom, throw it down the field. I don't think that was his mindset. I think the Eagles wanted to beat the Cowboys in Dallas. It didn't look like it, really. I think the Eagles would have liked to have beat the San Francisco 49ers. They didn't. I don't think this was a mail-it-in type of effort, and that is what is so concerning. And when they lost to the Giants to end the season, my number one thing after that game that I said was so horrifying was that Nick Sirianni, his message to the team before the game was very simple. Go out and win this game. Go out and play hard. Now he's never going to have a game where he's telling a team not to do that, but particularly in this instance, with how much the team had been struggling to that point, losing, 4 of 5 at the time, now 5 of 6 to end the season, you set the record straight here. Go into the playoffs with a little bit of confidence. And they go in and they put in that kind of effort, 27-10. Are you serious? Are you serious? That's what's so horrifying about it. It's not, oh, yeah, let's sucker in everybody, and then when the playoffs start, boom, we're good to go. No. And Chad Ochocinco talking about how the team, he knows what they're doing. He's familiar with their game. Hey, look, he has been, in all honesty, a great conduit for Philadelphia and really has supported what the Eagles have done over the last 2 years in particular. I believe there's been support out there for Joel Embiid as well. Like, he said some nice stuff about Philadelphia. Devontae Smith, he's a big fan of Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown, he's a fan of A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts, big fan of Jalen Hurts. All that's great. All that's wonderful. I don't understand his point here. And Chad Johnson, in his career, as talented as he was, is that how he approached it? Let me play bad now and fool people to think I don't have it and then get them later? Because I can't remember a time in his career where that really happened, to be honest with you. That is rather horrifying. To think about a player that I thought, and was, not a matter of what you thought. I mean, the fact of the matter is he's a very talented player. But when you look through his career, it doesn't exactly jump out to you with a total of 5 playoff games that he would really know what the hell the Eagles were doing at this point. Loss, 2 playoff wins. And they both came in 2011. Sort of. He was with New England at the time. I don't really know what he's talking about. He knows what they're doing? I don't think you do. But I do love the cigar. And I do appreciate the optimism. But I'm not buying it. And this is the number one reason why I'm not buying it. After they lost to the Giants to end the season, this was Dallas Goedert's take on the situation.
Everybody in this locker room is ready to go to work for the playoffs, and ever since 4 or 5 weeks ago when we clinched the playoffs, I think everybody's just been waiting for the playoffs. So not something that is a great thing, but I think everybody's going to be ready to go, and I think we're going to show the world what we're capable of.
Everybody waiting for the playoffs. So Dallas Goedert is saying essentially what Chad Ochocinco said the following morning. Does everyone realize, and I know people have talked about this, but does everyone realize what an indictment this is on Nick Sirianni? Has that occurred to people yet? If that's the case, just one more time, Dallas Goedert.
Everybody in this locker room is ready to go to work for the playoffs, and ever since 4 or 5 weeks ago when we clinched the playoffs, I think everybody's just been waiting for the playoffs. So not something that is a great thing, but I think everybody's going to be ready to go, and I think we're going to show the world what we're capable of.
So that means that Nick Sirianni has allowed this idea to poison the locker room, where it's not win, 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 finish strong. And I'm sure he's trying to give that message, but apparently it's falling on deaf ears for a player like Dallas Goedert, who missed a huge chunk of the season, by the way, to come back in a time where the Eagles had their biggest failures. That's bad, number one. And number two, if this team didn't look at the end of the year, their last 6 games with, let's solidify our playoff standing, let's get a first round bye, let's get home field advantage, and let's at least maintain the status quo and maintain the bar that we set for ourselves a year ago when we made it to the Super Bowl. This feels like the Phillies all over again. And as much as he struggled, as much as he was bad in the postseason, I should say, really in the NL, CS against the Diamondbacks, the biggest hit Nick Castellanos had in the postseason was after it was all said and done. and he was at his locker, and he said in the clubhouse, yeah, the thing was we were supposed to build off a World Series appearance, and instead we regressed, more or less was the message. This feels like that. And they've already regressed because they're not at the point that they were last year at this point in the season going into the playoffs. They're not the number one seed. They don't have home field advantage, blah, blah, blah. They're not the favorite to make it out of the NFC. This is a horrifying mindset for an active player in the locker room. Now, Fletcher Cox, who didn't play in the game, last game of the season, he said, everyone's basically going to pull focus. I've heard different takes on the situation as far as whether or not Fletcher Cox meant it for himself or he meant it for the team, or meant it for the coach, whoever it is. Dallas Goedert's words, though, are so damning to the head coach. We played for you after the Giants' loss in the 10th of the season. What Jason Kelsey had to say about this whole team and whether or not it's the players, whether it's the coaches, whether or not Nick Sirianni is now on that proverbial hot seat, just like Andy Reid was at the end of his career, just like in Philadelphia, just like Chip Kelly was at the end of his tenure, Doug Peterson even at the end of his final year here in Philadelphia. And Jason Kelsey went 90 seconds. I don't think you need 90 seconds to say you have confidence in your head coach and it's not his fault, which leads me to believe there needs to be a different voice. I didn't think that I'd be at the end of the year talking about Nick Sirianni losing his job. But Dallas Goedert saying that this team's mindset, this team's mentality was once they clinched a playoff spot, they kicked their feet up and said, that's that. Maybe, I don't know how this would affect the offensive side of the football, but defensively, you already have a playoff spot clinched and you demote your defensive coordinator, strip him of play calling responsibilities. You make that kind of huge change. That's oh, well, you know what? All right, so all this doesn't matter anyway. Look, the defense is going to be having a preseason for the last 4 games. It doesn't matter. We don't care about our seeding anymore. That's not just on Nick Sirianni, as I've said all week. That's on the front office. That's on the ownership. That's just bonkers. That's bat-you-know-what crazy to me. But to hear a player talk about this, that means that that's the mindset that's been allowed to enter these players' minds. That means this team has lost focus. And when a team loses focus, I look directly at the head coach. And that is ultimately what seems to be here the biggest failure in Nick Sirianni's season, the way this season ended. Hey, I am hoping, man, that they go into Tampa, that they take care of the Buccaneers, and they just roll them, and that Chad Ochocinco's right. They're just playing possum. That's great. I hope that Hollis Thomas, when he was on the show yesterday, he talked about how this team, with everybody against them, is going to rally around each other and find a way to push forward. Okay, yeah, I hope that's the case. But I've seen no evidence of that. If I take that route, and again, I already read you the letter to myself for Monday Morning Mark. Don't talk yourself into it. Don't be a moron. What evidence do you have to support the idea that this team is just all of a sudden going to come out? What, any given Monday? Any given game day, you're going to come out, you're going to be great. I don't think so. You're going to get Darius Slayback. Great. Is he going to be in tip-top game shape? Zach Cunningham, is he just going to be great? Is he going to be Lawrence Taylor? Is Son Reddick going to be dropping back in coverage 7 times in a game? That doesn't make me feel great. Does not make me feel great. Jalen Hurts' decision-making going to be top of the charts here. I mean, I went through the games a couple of times already, but this team was dangerously close to a 7-10 team, a 6-11 team. And that's not like outlandish things where it's like, oh, if they just scored a little bit more, they would have been. No, it's just stupid mistakes and ball bouncing their way throughout the season. The biggest indictment that I've heard from Nick Sirianni, or on Nick Sirianni here, has nothing to do with, reports of him losing veterans in the locker room or veterans questioning the head coach. It's got nothing to do with reports. It's straight from the horse's mouth right there. If he allowed his team to kick their feet up and say, we're making the playoffs, we're fine. All we need to do is make the playoffs. So what if we'll play one more game? So what if we'll play all our games on the road? Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. We still have a chance to host a playoff game. Whatever. If that's the mindset, if that's the mentality, then that is a huge failure on the head coach. And then you started thinking even more about whether or not this team does need that next voice, the next man up to be the head coach of this football team. And I'm telling you, if they lose it doesn't even have to be a gross, blowout loss, but they lose that game against the Bucks after this end of the season collapse. Oh, I think heads are going to roll, because it's not just about, the team struggled overall. You're hearing things like this from the locker room. If this is what they're saying publicly, what are they saying privately? What are they saying, when they might talk to the owner? They might see the owner. They might see Howie Roseman. They might talk to Howie Roseman. That's not great, man. That's scary. For a team that started out the season with so much hope, with so much promise, so much potential, for a team that took that promise, potential, and hope to 10-1 and then completely fell apart because they were disinterested? Because they felt like their job was done? Direct indictment of the head coach of this football team, Nick Sirianni. I couldn't believe it when I heard Dallas Goedert say it. I was like, you just kicked your feet up after the fact that you've clinched a playoff spot? That's all you had to do this year? Oh, the tough part of the schedule's over. Yeah, we got blown out by the 49ers. Yeah, we got blown up by the Cowboys. But, we just got the Seahawks now, the Giants twice, and the Cardinals. Everybody relax. Piss poor mindset by this Philadelphia Eagles team. Look, as far as what I need to see and what I need to hear going forward, I'm kind of out on what people have to say at this point. I think the play has dictated the mindset and mentality. We'll go through the week. We'll see what everybody else says and all that stuff, and maybe something will make you believe. I know A.J. Brown's words last week made everybody believe, they're going to save the season. I was like, people are looking at it as the flower power speech from Nick Sirianni in his first year as a head coach. That rallied everybody. The more I think about that and going back to it, a couple of things play into it. One, they played the Lions after it, when the Lions were the Lions. You know what I mean? Not this like brand of Lions football where they make the playoffs. Well, they win the division. What? Who is this team? So that's what happens when you eat kneecaps. But you look at it like that, and you go back to that Lions game, and they trounced them. They absolutely destroyed them. But it wasn't so much just that, but it was also not necessarily Nick Sirianni being this motivational speaker, but how everybody reacted to that flower power speech. I mean, my reaction to it was, I'm out. This guy, he's talking about daisies and tulips while he's coaching a football team because he wants to talk about roots. A lot of tough things have oak trees. Oak trees have roots. Be like a solid oak tree. That seems like it would appeal to a locker room a little bit more than, it's going to be this flower. You want to be a nice flower, and you want to be a flower, and you grow, and you're beautiful. The reaction that everybody had, myself included, that did get to the locker room. And then you started seeing the reports, started hearing from players in the locker room talking about how, now everybody's against us because our coach is trying to motivate us by talking about flowers. A.J. Brown spoke. We've talked at length about Hassan Reddick's words. Hassan Reddick's words brought me right back down to earth, unfortunately. But that's where we're at with your football team, folks. It's not fun. As we get away from what people say, and I want to focus on what they'll do, like throughout this season, when they've had struggles, we've talked about all the same things. Run the football, establish that run. If Mike Vrabel comes here, I would have a little bit more confidence in the team running the football. I would say that. But you have this idea throughout the season and of thinking that what the Eagles do well. And the Eagles run the football extremely well. When they commit to running the football, they run the ball extremely well. And in the early goings of games, when you see them throw the football as much as they do, and they go for those splash plays, they take those shots, and then they want to sit back and they want to start getting into what they do best. I think Hollis and I got into this yesterday. What the Eagles do best is run the football. When they trust their offensive line to establish momentum, they play extremely well. To me, if you're struggling with any form of consistency, don't you just want to rely on what you do well? Run the football? I go back to the Patriots game. I go back to the Vikings game. Those two games at the start of the season, the Eagles just said, all right, flip the switch. It's time to activate run mode. And then they controlled the game. You rarely saw them do that throughout this season, but when they did do it, they won. That's what reminds me of Jeffrey Lurie and the analytics department having such an involvement in what goes on with the game plan. And Nick Sirianni is the type of good soldier. He's the type of good employee. And it's weird thinking about the head coach of a National Football League team as an employee because they're supposed to be looked at as the boss. It's odd to look at Nick Sirianni as the employee of Jeffrey Lurie more so than the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And when you really break it down, that's what gets to me about Nick Sirianni and his relationship with this front office. And when you really break it down, that's why Doug Peterson isn't here anymore. You can say what you want about Jacksonville, not making the playoffs, you're fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the end of something that was good here in Philadelphia. And Doug Peterson ultimately got to the point of, I want a Super Bowl here. Like I could get a job anywhere else. And now I'm going to be employee number 2 to Jeffrey Lurie, maybe even 3. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, analytics department, kind of right there at 2 and 3, and then maybe even number 4 is your head coach. Doug Peterson didn't want that. That's why he's not here anymore. And now you're looking at Nick Sirianni, who wants to be the good soldier and wants to be a head coach. He didn't win that Super Bowl, so he's still got to mind his P's and Q's and listening to the big bosses. It's weird thinking about that in that way, but that's the vibe I get. And that's the vibe a lot of people get here. You're supposed to look at the head coach as the big boss, not the big boss. You know who the big boss is. It's Jeffrey Lurie. And you might say that with every team. You go, oh, he's the owner. It's easy to say that. Yeah, not really. Not for every other team. Maybe you can say that with the Cowboys. Now you can say about Philadelphia. It's not a good feeling to look down on the sidelines and know that that guy is absolutely answering to guys that not just pay his salary, but guys that also want to tell him how to put his game plan together. So getting back to running the football, Nick Sirianni wants to be that good employee, so he's throwing the football. And that's why you see that so much in the game plan. And as much as it might work to run the football, that's why you don't see that until it's in case of emergency, break glass. The game against the Cardinals, you saw Nick Sirianni in this offense run the football 5 times with DeAndre Swift in the entire first half. Granted, they didn't have a lot of plays. Still, the percentages were way off in terms of just giving him the ball to run. Then in the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter against the Cardinals, on one drive, DeAndre Swift ran the ball 6 times. And they had a lot of success. Go figure. Go figure how that works. Throughout the season, we've had these conversations. We've talked about running the football. We've talked about things the Eagles do well. And even when they have struggled, i.e. last 6 games of the season, you rarely ever saw it. So what makes you think they're going to go on the road into Tampa, face this defense that Todd Bowles is going to dial up blitzes left and right, and the Eagles are just going to continue to rely on the pass, continue to rely on Jalen Hurts finding his way out of a blitz? I believe that Jalen Hurts can read a defense. I believe Jalen Hurts has trouble reacting to the blitz. Both those things can be true. And that ain't fixing itself with one extra off day. That ain't fixing itself with the Eagles going, it's the playoffs now, time to flip a switch. That's not fixing itself with, oh, well, we were just kind of waiting for the playoffs, so all is good. All is right with the world because it's the playoffs now. We'll know how to pull focus. Yeah, I hope so. Because it's going to be really difficult to find that focus again after you, according to a player on your team, lost that focus. Horrifying is the word that comes to mind. Horrifying is the word that comes to mind. Before I get to our chat check, I do want to get into something here. So Joel Embiid of the 76ers is going to miss tonight's game against the Atlanta Hawks. JoJo did play against the New York Knicks, dropped 30 points. Everything was great. Then, after that, he missed the game against the Jazz, which the Sixers lost 120 to 109. That game was played in South Philadelphia. And now, Joel Embiid is going to miss his 2nd straight game when they take on the Atlanta Hawks tonight. That is, if I'm counting correctly, that leaves him 9 more games for the rest of the season that he can't miss due to the requirements put on the regular season awards like MVP. Joel Embiid was asked about if he's keeping track. This is my old friend Dave Uram, KYW News Radio, in the locker room on the 5th, I believe it was, asking Joel Embiid about what he feels about the MVP award this year.
No, I just want to play as many games as possible. You can't control it. It's unfortunate that I missed, the past 4 games, but can't control it. If I'm healthy, I said it at the beginning of the season. My goal was, I knew that wasn't going to happen anyways, but my goal was to try to play 82 games and every single game. And, sometimes, it's just not possible. Sometimes, stuff happens. Sometimes these guys, want you to, take a break. But, just, any chance that I get that I'm healthy, I'm always going to be out there.
The best thing about, okay, that's great. Any chance he gets to be healthy is great. The thing I loved about that is that sometimes these guys want me to take a break, meaning Nick Nurse, the coaching staff, the training staff, whoever it might be, they want him to take a break. I have never been more on that train than I have been right now. And I have been on both trains. I've been on both sides of this throughout the years. Of, no, he's got to play, tough it out. You got to build up that the stamina and all that stuff. He has shown that he can break down. And one of my big takeaways after winning the MVP award last year was seeing him in the playoffs next to P.J. Tucker, and P.J. Tucker just chewing him out, man. Just, you got to find that next gear. They're going to overtime. You got to find that next gear. They're yelling at him, trying to motivate him. He's got his hands on his knees. He's bent over. He's gasping for air. That's one of my huge takeaways. So this regular season is merely the tune-up to the postseason. I have referred to this regular season for the Sixers as simply preseason basketball. This is all entertainment. And for the most part, watching Joel Embiid, watching Tyrese Maxey, watching the team this year, I've been very entertained. Watching their win over the Timberwolves, watching him just spank Rudy Gobert, very much enjoyable, very entertaining. Tyrese Maxey's growth, very entertaining. But watching, this is just the entertainment. The real season doesn't start for me until the postseason starts, because that's all that matters. So Joel Embiid winning an MVP, don't care. Really don't care. I don't want him to be eligible for the MVP award at the end of the season. I want him to manage his health. I want him to manage his strength. And I want him to be ready to fire. And I go back to Nick Nurse's words when he was asked about, 62 games, 63 games Kawhi Leonard played in the season leading up to the quadruple doink, unfortunately, that knocked the Sixers out of the postseason with Jimmy Butler and the Sixers. He's going to be calling upon that experience. And this is what Nick Nurse said in this introductory press conference. He's going to call upon that experience with Kawhi Leonard to manage Joel Embiid. I have never been all for that more so than I have right now. That's what I want to see from this squad going forward, managing Joel Embiid. I would prefer it if he wasn't eligible. Not because he's injured, but because they're overly cautious with any knee soreness, any ankle soreness. They're overly cautious with load management, and they just have him poised and ready to go for the playoffs. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. That's all I need. That's all I ask. Let me tell you guys right now about the great people at the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzi when you create an account and get $20 off your first purchase. You want tickets to the big game, the big concert, the big event, the comedy show? Game Time app is where it's at. I was just watching a comedian yesterday. I was like, I got to get tickets to this guy's show. Ralph Barboza, I just watched him on Netflix. Hilarious. All right. Want to go to that comedy show? Game Time app is where it's at. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzi. When you create an account, you get $20 off your first purchase. The Game Time app is fantastic because it has all-in pricing, which means you're not going to be surprised by the time you go to check out and be like, what? $100 in service fees, convenience fees? What is that? No, it's all in right there. Great deals, flash deals, last-minute ticket deals. Even an hour after the event starts, you can get tickets on the Game Time app at incredible savings. You can find exclusive flash deals, sponsored deals, tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concert, comedy, theater, and so much more. Zone deals where you pick the section and Game Time picks the seat for big-time savings. Also, the Game Time guarantee means that you'll get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less money elsewhere, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So go ahead. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Create an account. Use promo code Farzi. That's F-A-R-Z-Y for $20 off your first purchase. Promo code Farzi for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. How about MyBookie? MyBookie.ag. You want to get in on the action? MyBookie.ag. Use promo code Farzi at MyBookie.ag for up to $1,000 cash bonus when you sign up and create an account when you use promo code Farzi. You can bet on sports. You can bet on TV. You can bet on your favorite TV shows. I got those fun little prop bets going for yourself. Also, you can bet on politics, all with the MyBookie app. Go to MyBookie.ag. Download the MyBookie app to your phone. Use promo code Farzi for up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie.ag. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine, rainy morning. Rained cats and dogs in the Delaware Valley yesterday. We're seeing Downingtown had flooded. So Schuylkill, Kelly Drive had flooding. Schuylkill, all that fun stuff. So just be careful. Give yourself some extra time today. Beepo Bop, type it in the old, I almost called it MapQuest. Good God. Google Map it before you go. Break out the TomTom. That thing. And map it out. Make sure you're good to go. Waze, whatever you do, make sure you have that route to work today clear. Sean, what's going on? Sean, good morning. April, good morning. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Sean Kilrain, what's going on? Hey, Joe, what's up? Sure, lay low. Lose a bye. Lose home field advantage. Dum-dums. Thank you, Joe. Freaking to see you, buddy. Sean Gillespie, Eagles' arrogance was on full display this year. Next year, they must train tougher with fire and hunger. Sean Gillespie, I wish. Remember that Chip Kelly fella? Remember that guy? Yeah, you remember Chip Kelly. Yeah, that guy. You know what's the one thing they retained after Chip Kelly? Like, Chip Kelly was gone, right? And they're like, Jeffrey Lurie's like, perhaps we should keep the sports science angle of this. Apparently that was a good idea. They monitor these players. I think the smoothie bar still exists outside the locker room. They loved that aspect of Chip Kelly's game, of his style, and they still have it. The entire NFL, I mean, all you got to do is look at the CBA, folks. I mean, one of the things of the CBA is paid more, work less. That's everybody. That's kind of what the CBA wants. That's every CBA. But for players in particular, Hollis, Hugh Douglas, Trey Thomas, Todd Harrimans, every Freddie Mitchell, every older Eagle that has been on this show has talked about the two-a-days at Lehigh with Andy Reid. That ain't happening anymore, folks. Not for the vast majority of the teams in the NFL. The CBA has made practices, for the most part, Candyland. That's not just an Eagles thing, but that's the way the game's played now. You don't have to like it, but that's what the players want. That's unfortunate. So to say that they could all of a sudden toughen up, I don't think that happens. Last year, by accounts, easiest practice schedule that you could possibly have. This year, apparently, they went even lighter. I don't know how you could continue the trend of doing less and expecting more, especially with the way this season ended. So I would expect next year, it might be a little tougher, but they ain't going back to Buddy Ryan. They ain't going back to Andy Reid. They ain't going back to Ray Rhodes. They're not going back to those types of practices. What's up, April? There is no way they're all just lying low. They embrace the hell out of themselves. Embarrassed. I'm sorry. They embarrass the hell out of themselves. You would think after they get destroyed by San Francisco, you would think after that, they'd be like, all right, we're going to the Dallas next. Big divisional game. We already lost that conference game there. The 49ers, they really proved that they're the team to beat in the NFC. The road through the playoffs goes through, the road to the Super Bowl goes through Santa Clara. You would think they'd get up for that game against the Cowboys, and they did not score an offensive touchdown in that game. Jalen Carter scored your touchdown. Not great. Not great. So, yeah. Then they go into Seattle after making the defensive coordinator change, after the front office told you, panic, everybody, panic. Yeah, not great. Not great. Andrew, what's going on, Andrew? Andrew Dirk, what's going on? I said that too. You almost think they have to be. There's no way they're this bad of a football team. They might be this bad a football team, Andrew. Miss Scusi, they might be this bad a football team. All right. I'm going to, for Andrew here, I'm going to get into this conversation. All right. I'm going to be Paulie Pom-Poms for a second. So let's ignore the letter I wrote to myself about not being a moron on Monday, and let's be that moron on Monday, okay? By Monday, I'll be at, maybe Chad Johnson's right. Maybe Dallas Goedert's right. I mean, it's a shame if he's right that they just pushed it all aside and said, we're in the playoffs. It's fine. So let's go to this for a second here. Okay. All right. Darius Slay's back. Zach Cunningham has a game under his belt, more or less, where he's back. You had an extra day off because of the Monday night game, and we know that this team needed another day off, right? And they had Monday off this past week. This week they had Monday off. And you know what? The whole world's against them. Let's go. This is the Hollis Thomas take that we didn't get too much into. The whole world's against them, so now they're going to come out and prove everybody wrong. They're not this bad a football team. They might be this bad a football team, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're going to shock the world. Maybe they're going to shock the world, Andrew. I don't think they will, but I'm just going to go down that angle. Sean Kilrain. I think Ocho Cinco is a little CTE. What's in that cigar, Farsi? I'll tell you what's in that cigar. That cigar is a blunt. That looked like a really nice. Look at this again.
Beautiful Monday afternoon. Getting ready to head to the airport. So it's a little cold in Miami. But I'm excited to go to Philly. I hope it's snowing too.
That's like the perfect ash on a cigar. See that cigar? Great ash on that cigar. When you got that, that's just perfect. That's it. You can tell it's an indoor cigar with the way that burn, like the wind is, blowing it out, knocking that ash off or anything like that. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. I haven't had a cigar in a while. It's been a little cold, a little rainy. Maybe in honor of Chad Oster's thing, I'll light up the cigar. But that ash, that thing was humming, man. Anyway. Beep. Wait, what? Oh, Mr. International. All right, hold on. I'll get to that. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Mally lost focus. Let's be honest. They haven't been focused all year. See, but here's what I'll say, Mally. You're right. Like a full game, very rarely focused for a full game. They needed. Oh boy, here's another extra added motivation for Monday. All year, they needed to be bad before they were good. So maybe this is the euphemism. Maybe this is the the metaphor. Maybe this is the point of the season, like they were in the during the regular season throughout games. One of the things I said was the Eagles don't have bad games; they have bad halves. So maybe this was like their first half struggle. Wow, this is really stretching it. Really, really reaching here. Maybe this was their first half struggle. And then in the second half, the playoffs, second half, they come back, baby. Yeah, no, I'm not. Again, grasping at straws. Paulie Pom-Poms. Andrew Jones, spelled D-R-E-U, not Andrew Jones of Braves fame. The only theory of them playing possum is when host asks, did you hear the theory about them playing possum? No, I wish that was the case, but unfortunately, Chad Ochocinco says there. Ralph Barboza is funny. He is funny. I really like subtle humor. Let me go off on this tangent for a second here. So that Matt Rife character, okay, I'm not a hater. Good for him. All the success he's having. Enjoy it. Good for you. But I watched a little bit of his special, and I love stand-up comedy. I watch a lot of stand-up comedy. His jokes have too much fat on them. Like, there's a lot of wasted material, like a lot of wasted words. And like he seems like a guy on his way to be a really good comic. But he got he got famous way too fast. And I mean, we know, look, a good-looking guy, went viral on TikTok, and clubs like and Netflix. Oh, this guy's so hot right now. We need to get him on here. I just don't think he was ready for the stage that he's on now. And I've watched guys like I watched, and I know some people have different feelings on this guy now, but just as a comic, like Louis C.K., like I watched his stand-up really develop over time. And like he would do his little specials here and there on Comedy Central, and they were good, but then he started just hitting grand slams. And like I look at a guy like Matt Rife, and I'm like, these jokes are good. Like some of these jokes are really good jokes, but you're missing the point because there's too many words surrounding the joke. I watch a guy like Ralph Barboza, who's not nearly as famous right now, but I think 10 times as funny. You could tell the writing in his jokes are great. Shane Gillis is a guy you could tell the writing in his jokes it's perfect, and that's really what it comes down to. Is trimming the fat around jokes. You hear a lot of comics talk about like using too many words. Like, no, you got to get rid of those words. Bill Burr talks about like, no, you can't have fat on jokes. There's like no wasted words. You know what I mean? And I think Matt Rife has a lot of that going on where it's like he's funny, not hilariously funny, not worthy of Netflix specials funny yet. But it's like he got way too famous too fast before his material was ready for that platform. Is that fair? I don't hate the guy. Good for him. Embrace it when you can. I think there's a better comic in that fella for later in life. And I look forward to watching that guy more so than what I watched on that Netflix special. Anyway, that's my tangent on comedy. Dave, what's up, Dave? Chody? Do you say Chody or Ciotti? Or Ciotti? What about that punk Cutter Gauthier? I am very confused by this. I mentioned this yesterday. I'm very confused by the idea of this guy going up to John Tortorella at one of their like development practices or whatever and be like, hey, I'm Cutter Gauthier. I'm really, really excited and you're going to be a flyer and all that stuff. And he like pushed somebody out of the way that John Tortorella was talking to. And John Tortorella was like, hell yeah, man. I love that kind of attitude. That's great. How did it go from that to I don't want to be here? How did it go from that to John Tortorella saying a great John Tortorella line, I don't know Cutter Gauthier from a hole in the wall. He doesn't want to be here, then we don't want you. I love that. But yeah, I don't know. Apparently he didn't want to be here. I don't know. Didn't want to be here, so they didn't want him. Simple as that. Tim Johnson. What's going on, Tim Johnson? Howie needs to get put back into the closet or fired. I'm telling you, my theory is that I don't look at Howie Roseman and be like, oh my God, Howie, you suck again. I'm not there. Getting to winning one, getting to 2 Super Bowls in a 5-year span, different head coach, different quarterback, that's pretty damn impressive. After being put in that closet. My problem now lies more so with Jeffrey Lurie. As an owner spending money, he will spend money. The meddling and not letting a coach be the head coach, be the boss, is a little horrifying. I'll go back to the point. I don't like looking at a head coach as if he is employee number 2, 3, or 4. I like looking at a head coach as if he is the boss. And I think with Lurie, and yes, also with Howie, that's difficult for anyone. But with Lurie's role growing more and more, I think that's becoming more of an issue with this team. Wait, I missed somebody. Is this live? Sim time goated? What? Yes, this is live. If I run a guest, odds are that is not live. Afrado. As much as I want to believe Chad and me really feeling a sense of hope, I just can't be positive and delusional. But I would hope. I would hope. I don't know. Mullen Alvarado, welcome to the party, pal. Sorry I'm late. No, welcome to the party, man. Great to see you again, man. That's all right. Oh, wait, 10-1. 10-1 when we have 25 plus rushing attempts. That's great. And I want to see him do it. Steven, thank you. Or Stefan. Here's my thing, though, with the number of rushing attempts. When people put that number on it, my issue with it is that you're going to run the ball more in the second half of a game if you're in the lead. But with the Eagles, what's, again, to support this, is that you also have a game like you did against Seattle Seahawks where it's 1st and 10 with 8:15 left in the game, and you're throwing the ball up with a 4-point lead. DeQuez Watkins intercepted. So, yes, I will. If I see the Eagles run the ball 25 times, I'm a very happy camper. Mr. International, Nick was never a CEO type coach. In the sense that people use that, I will defend the idea of him being a CEO type coach because I do believe it is his decision to call plays or not. And I think if you're not calling plays, you take on that CEO role. But in terms of him being the boss CEO, I totally agree with you, if that's your point, saying that he is not the CEO of the Eagles. Jeffrey Lurie is definitely in charge. Yeah, Dougie P was a real coach. Sean Lesby Peterson was an actual coach here. Yeah, I know. But again, he wanted to be even more of a coach, but didn't want to. Lost that battle, apparently. Mia Sanchez, Bill showed the league how to beat the Eagles. It's over. Phillies and Flyers season. I wish I could be excited, but I'm not. Did I show this already? Sirianni, a yes man cheerleader head coach. Agree or disagree? I don't like the cheerleader moniker, but as far as the yes man, absolutely. He is way more of a yes man than I think a lot of other people thought he was. Joey Shake 72. What's up, Joey? How do you look like this for weeks? We know they are beyond better. No. We know they are this for weeks. I don't know if they are better now. Look, you could go back to week 3 against the Buccaneers where they won 25-11. And again, I'll say this. They won. It was their first double-digit win of the season. It was their first of 2. 2 double-digit wins this year. That's, you look at the point differential, it's really all you really need to know. But you mean to tell me this Eagles team is the same as that Eagles team? I don't think so. That's not good. I looked at for weeks. Mihai, what's up, Mihai? I know. I remember when me and Mark used to smoke weed before Eagles. I do not enjoy the ganj. And my eyes haven't been red, so you haven't been able to accuse me of that in a long time. Anthony Atkinson, good morning, Farzy. Status on Hurts. We'll find out more about Jalen Hurts today. You're going to hear from Brian Johnson. I believe you're also going to hear from Matt Patricia. There might be, is there a locker room session today? That I don't know. Let me see if I have the media schedule up here. I can jump to it quickly. Game notes, that's not it. No. Media schedule. Here we go. Brett sent me here. Wednesday, Michael Clay, Matt Patricia. So coordinator speak. Tomorrow is Sirianni. No locker room session today. Tomorrow, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts address the media. Locker room's open again at 12:45. So we won't know much until later today. Brian Johnson, they'll probably, hey, have you seen Jalen Hurts? How's the finger? That kind of thing. Well, hopefully we'll find that out. Tim Johnson was going dream head coach for the Eagles versus reality for 2024. I don't like changing head coaches. And a lot of my decision is going to be, a lot of my mind is made up. Hearing the Dallas Goedert quote, as I've driven home many times throughout the day today, listening to Dallas Goedert talk about how this team is, we're in the playoffs, we're fine. That's the head coach, man. That's the head coach to say, guys, we still have a lot of work to do. And I would be shocked if he didn't say that. But if he did and they just zoned him out, tuned him out, then that's an even bigger issue. Muted growl. Wait, hold on. Iceberg? Lincoln? Huh? Oh, Lincoln Riley's the dream head coach. Gotcha. That'd be fun. Yeah, watching him come up here. Yeah. Eagles could have lost to Washington twice, Cowboys game, Bills game, Chiefs game, Christmas Day against the Giants. I went through the whole schedule, and in case you didn't hear me, these are the biggest plays, and they were the biggest games that they should have lost. KC, Valdez-Scantling drops a touchdown. Would have made it 24. Would have been a 24-21 in favor of Kansas City with about minute 50, minute 40 left in the game. Buffalo, Gabe Davis breaks the wrong way in overtime. If he would have broke the right way, he would have caught a walk-off touchdown pass. Eagles also in that game got the 59-yard field goal there by Jake Elliott. Dallas game, the first Dallas game where they have the 3 bungled plays in the red zone. That could have easily flipped the script of that game. And then week 4. I only went week 4 against Washington, and I didn't go week whatever the hell it was. Week 7, did they face them again? No, that was the Dolphins. Week 8. They faced the Commanders again. Reed Blankenship in week 4, his forearm under Terry McLaurin, making Terry McLaurin go out of bounds for a catch that would have put them in Eagles territory at the 48-yard line. That's a bit of a problem. So those are 4 games right there that would have flipped you from the 11-6 to the 7-10. Gross. That's the game I look at. Sirianni has become clueless. Robert Jaklowski.
On the web for how do you become clueless?
Why is she listening to me so much? Did you guys notice that? She's going off so much more now. Lady. Jaskluski. Either way, Yakshamash. I mean, we quit playing preseason and maybe we tanked the regular season and come out and go on a run in the playoffs. Yes, I hope I talk myself into that on Monday. Fatal, like the spelling. Got to clean the house. Sirianni gets fired. Alexa is omnipresent. That was the other one. That was the S one. That was the, it rhymes with eerie. Washington wants Phillies. Who else am I missing here? There we go. Who, Matt G? Not buying into the possum talk. If that was the case, then why we make the last 3-4 quarterbacks look like Pro Bowlers? This coach can't. Oh man, this coach can't make an adjustment with his belt buckle. Why don't we run the ball? I thought you were going the other way with that, with the defense and how bad the defense has been in these last couple games here. I think the front office sent a message to this team saying that the last 4 games don't matter. When they said, hey, we're going to change your defensive coordinator, essentially, I think they said, these games don't even count. We can win these games with a different defensive coordinator, essentially. That's horrifying. That's the show, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hey, tomorrow, going to try to get you guys a guest. Been trying to get this guy for a while. Got to match schedules, but we'll try to get him tomorrow. But Friday morning, do I have it scheduled for Friday morning? Yeah, Friday morning, Dr. Joel Fish is going to join the show to talk about the psychology of a slump. Sports psychologist, Dr. Joel Fish, who's worked with a lot of players in his time and really understands the mental approach to sports. I've talked to players that he's worked with, and these guys are like, man, this guy really opened my eyes, got me out of a slump here and there, whatever. So I talk about the psychology of it all behind this, because I find this fascinating. So we're going to talk to him. Mullet, very good. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm just going to put your post up there. So Dr. Joel Fish will join us on Friday morning. Got a couple of guests I'm trying to nail down for the rest of the week, and also Monday morning as well. So hopefully we'll have some funsies with that. Until then, don't forget, download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy and get $20 off when you create an account off your first purchase. You want tickets to the big game, big comedy event, big theater event? Go ahead, check it out. Game Time app. Use promo code Farzy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Be back with you guys tomorrow morning. Until then, have a great day. See ya. Oh, be careful out there on the road.